This video is mainly intended for Leo from actualize.org or any other spiritual teachers that are still in the process of awakening. So, you guys are still trapped in your ego, thinking that that's God. It's very obvious from my state of consciousness. And, you keep trying to think that I'm the one that's like less awake and self-deceived. Sure, because you're not reaching where I am. So it's very easy to brush me off like that, right? How are you to know who's more awake and less awake? Really? But you guys are still trapped in your ego thinking that's God. When I say the ego, it's a made-up, constructed mind that I keep telling you that you can remove. That's what construction means, is you can remove it by dissolving it, right? That's what construction means. But you guys are projecting whatever stuff onto me just because I'm choosing to carry the name Jesus Christ. You think I'm the one that's fooled by constructions instead of the other way around, right? That's what's happening. You're dismissing me and brushing me off just because I'm choosing this name. And you don't want to consider that the possibility that God actually wants to use this name. You can't even fathom this right now. That's how far away you are from the state of consciousness. So, you from a lower state telling me to remove this name, that's not how it works. You have to actually get to where I am. Then we can have a conversation about this. If you still want to deconstruct this name, once you reach Kingdom of Heaven, we can have a conversation about it. I have no problem. But you're not even close right now. Do you get what I'm saying? So your level of your state, you're from a state of not understanding remotely why I'm choosing this name. Why God chooses this name. You're not even close to understanding it. So I can't just remove it because it's a teaching tool. Your rejection of it is not because it's not representative of this state of consciousness. It's not because it's not representative of God's mind. It's because you are very removed from this state. And it's really that your ego doesn't want to die. Your ego doesn't want to be deconstructed. Because the ego is very antichrist. It doesn't want the light to shine in. It doesn't want to remove itself, to die. That's what this work is really about, is to dissolve your ego to reach God. But you guys your ego's very clever. It comes up with all these kind of seemingly logical sounding arguments to try to reject basically the true God that you currently think is deluded or whatever, right? Your ego is very clever at coming up with those reasons. One of which is, Jesus Christ was just imaginary, right? It's very easy to convince yourself of that. But it's very obvious from my state that you're still just being very self-deceived and you're still just trying to hold on to your ego structure. Because your ego doesn't want to die, it doesn't want to change. Because to get to where I am, someone like Leo would have to radically change. He's not ready for that, you see. He's still holding on to his role as this spiritual teacher, even though he thinks it's illusion, but he's still holding on to it. He's still making videos and holding on to his forum, right? He prevents people like me from writing on his forum that would actually deconstruct his ego. But he decides to kick people like me out so that his ego can keep holding on to his existing thought system. Because you do have a thought system right now. That's what awakening means, is changing of your thought system back to what God's thought system is like. But because it's very different from yours right now, you don't want that. There's a big difference between the true God's thought system versus Leo's thought system right now. That's why you keep demonizing Jesus Christ. There's not even like a close connection there. And you don't want to consider the possibility that that's why you keep trying to trash Jesus. It's very clear from my state why you're doing it. Even though you think you've deconstructed yourself, you haven't actually done it. You're still largely in the same kind of thought system that you were born into in this lifetime. Whatever you started with, people tend to stay close to what they've started with. They don't tend to change too much. Because, again, it threatens everything. How are you going to teach going forward if you are to reach where I am, right? How are you going to still be a Leo? You can't be a Leo anymore. You see? And so it's really that Leo's ego doesn't want to be deconstructed. Because I fully deconstructed mine. I keep telling you guys, there's really no me anymore. I'm at the source. Now, you can't recognize that, because if you're not close, then you can't recognize it. So it's a chicken and egg situation, right? If you're too far away, then I'm just going to come off as some crazy person. And it's very easy for you to just brush me off. Because like I said, God is not of this world. So your thought system would have to totally change to something that's not of this world. And you don't want that. Your ego doesn't like that. It's very uncomfortable. Especially if you're very ingrained in this like dream world's thought system and you've lived your life like that. So, it's really that you don't want to be deconstructed, not the other way around. Like, you're not even close to the state. So I just want to reiterate that it's really Leo's consciousness that doesn't want to get deconstructed by kicking someone like me out and other people that disagree with him. This is a way to hold on to your ego. One of the ways, anyways. And, I don't really have anything else to do except to keep pointing these things out to you again and again. Because it's very obvious to me. It's not obvious to you right now. Because you still think you're more awakened than me. See, this is the trick that you're playing on yourself. You keep thinking you're more awake than me. And that's how you keep getting stuck at your current state. Along with your followers who also reinforce your current state of consciousness. Your current thought system, your beliefs, your ideas about God, your ideas about reality and mind, all this stuff. You're reinforced by your followers. Because there's way more people in the ego consciousness than in the true God consciousness. It's literally like it's not even like a pyramid. It's like, I don't know what to call it. There's just not many people like me in this world. And it's very easy to brush me off as a result. But it doesn't change the fact that this state of consciousness exists, that you guys haven't reached. What, you think I'm just like lying to you or exaggerating? Like, nobody's here yet. Again, it's not because I want this to be the case. You guys, your ego is so clever at refusing to awaken further. It comes up with all kinds of reasons, like I said. It's really your ego that doesn't want to get deconstructed. So, the more ego you have, the more you're going to be an antichrist. And to not like to listen to beings from the light, basically. There's already that kind of mechanism in place. So you're already biased in that way, where you talk about enlightenment shouldn't be about, you say stuff like enlightenment shouldn't be about love. But what if enlightenment is about love? Then you're trapped. You just decided for yourself that it's not supposed to be about love. Then if God happens to be about love for the most part, then you've just trapped yourself forever, for the rest of this life. Do you get what I'm saying? You're still deciding from your level of consciousness what is true and what is not. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, everyone's doing that at their current state of consciousness. That's how tricky this work is. Like, no teacher thinks that they're telling lies, right? Every teacher thinks that they're telling the truth. But obviously, they're still at different states of consciousness. And it's obvious to me that you guys have not reached God, have not reached the source. You all have... It's easy to justify your current state of consciousness. Anyone can do that. Just look at Donald Trump or any politician or, anyone really. You're not an exception to that right now, unfortunately. Most people are not an exception to this kind of self-deception, where they think they've reached the truth or reached God. So you may not like what I'm saying, but this is just very obvious from my state. So I have, nothing else to do but to tell you these things. Whether or not you listen, right? I can't force you to agree with me. But that's not the point. The point is just to let you know that you still have not reached source like you think you have. You're still stuck at your current state of consciousness along with your followers. Like, you guys are trapping each other. And it's very hard to get out of that as a result of this group structure. You think you're done with, escaping the groupthink, right? But you're not done. You're still in the groupthink. And there's many levels of this. Right? Do you get what I'm saying? That's how every spiritual teacher gets trapped. And almost none of them want to listen to someone like me telling them there's more to awaken to.